What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with a little bit of Destiny 2 news in the form of This Week at Bungie. And so in the weekly blog post to give us a heads up about the April update coming next week, they also talk about a new commendation that we're going to get in Season 21. They go over some of the changes they've made in the game this week, upcoming Trials Labs for this season, and there are a few other updates that we'll talk about in the video. But before we get into it today guys, we have something super special, and you can now buy Houndish socks. Yes, you heard me right, we've teamed up with Freaker USA to bring you all some epic one-off Houndish themed merch. And these come in the form of these new Houndish socks and bottle covers. So if you want to start your day in epic fashion, see yourself right with the new awesome day socks, as well as our exotic boot themed boss stomper socks. Those are my personal favorite, but also the epic Houndish themed bottle cover, and Slippy to keep your hands all comfy when you're sipping something sweet. And so if you guys enjoy my content and want to show your support, then picking up this pack is a great way to do that. And even better, it is a limited edition design which will be available for 30 days only, and after that, it will be gone forever. So if you feel like helping us reach our goal and getting these made, be sure to check them out through the link down below. Again, it really does support me immensely on the channel, and of course it unlocks some unique loot for all of you guys. As always, I appreciate all of you. Let's stomp some bosses back, man. And the details for that are down below, so feel free to check it out. Now though, as we get into the Destiny content, initially, they don't talk in depth about the April update, but they do say that next Tuesday, April 18th, update 705 will be released. And so it's going to drop at 10 AM Pacific, that is the weekly reset time, and it looks like there will be an hour and 15 minutes of downtime immediately before the update. So keep that in mind, and in the update there will be some quality of life improvements, fixes for content in the expansion, and of course a bunch of weapon changes which we've discussed recently, so I'll link a video below with some of the details on those if you missed them. Next though, Bungie briefly talk about commendations, and they say back when we first started developing commendations, we had a sneaky suspicion that a fashion-focused commendation would be highly desired. And as we continued into long-form playtesting, the need became even more obvious, but by then we were past the point of adding anything new to Season 20. So when we started on Season 21, it was one of the first things we worked on. And they show an icon for the commendation right here, and the same when Lightfall launched, we saw the feedback over and over again. And so because we love our fashion community so much, we've dug in and moved it up to the Season 20 mid-season patch. And so Best Dressed isn't going to have a large commendation score, but they say the Best Dressed commendation is also restricted to what they call low-trust activities. So those are match-made activities that don't rely on significant communication or team play, and it will be excluded from raids and dungeons, as well as Trials of Osiris. And they say this isn't a high school award. Best Dressed is about giving a stranger a compliment. So an interesting new commendation right there. Let us know what you think about it. And as I've said, this will be in the update that we get next week. So share your thoughts below, but next they speak about Trials Labs and they say there will be Trials Labs on week 8 and 11 of Season 20, and they'll be testing out new matchmaking parameters to gather stats for them. And they say we will now have 2 always active soft pools, and that means that matchmaking initially prefers not to blend the pools, but will, if necessary, to find a good game quickly. So the distinction is not as dramatic as the one between flawless and non-flawless in the current system, and that will include the challenger pool, and they say this is where most players who currently play Trials on a week-to-week basis and who want to go flawless will play. It represents an experience more like the original iteration of Trials in D1, without the focus on making games more difficult as the card progresses or after you've been flawless. This pool will match based solely on connection. There are no matchmaking based tickets, wins, or skill. And on top of that, players who have any card with no losses, including a card after a reset, or those playing with someone in their fire team that has a card with no losses, they will be placed in this pool. And then they say there is the practice pool, and this pool is targeted at new or less experienced players. And they say that's for players not yet ready to give going flawless a shot, and it represents a place for them to dip their toes into Trials without being thrown straight in the deep end. And this pool matches based on connection and weekly performance, and only players with a flawed card or those on their first game of the week can play in this pool. And they add that this pool has stomp protection, and if you're consistently struggling, it will reduce your weekly performance rating to give you an easier match until you recover. And then farming protection, and if the system detects that you or a fire team member are likely to attempt to farm in the practice pool, it will slow down your matchmaking times initially, and if you continue, it will lock you into the challenger pool for the remainder of the weekend, regardless of your card state. So give us your thoughts on those, but they say as a reminder, the updates to the Passage of Wealth and Mercy and the changes to Gilded Flawless Triumph requirements will not be live on these weekends. And those changes will come in Season 21 alongside the new Emblem and Introduction quest. They also say that later in Season 20, they will have a more in-depth discussion about changes that are coming to Trials in Season 21. So share your thoughts on that, but Bungie also recognise here that the community has grown increasingly frustrated by a form of cheating that uses third-party peripherals with the intent to manipulate the game client. These devices are plugged into a computer or console, where they can, for example, execute simple scripts or trick the game into giving you extra aim assist. And you'll note that we aren't calling out these services by name. The primary reason for that is that we simply don't want to offer a bigger spotlight than necessary. They say they've adopted a new policy on any form of external aids, and they say Bungie embraces the use of external accessibility aids that enable an experience the game designers intended, but will take action, including bans on people who abuse these tools specifically to gain an advantage over other players. And so that includes any device or input that augments the player's ability to control a game beyond what the game itself normally provides. That includes stuff like programmable controllers, keyboard and mouse adapters, advanced macros, or automation, but doesn't include features that Bungie provide. And they also say that they don't intend for difficulty to be automated away via software or hardware. Therefore, simply using an accessibility aid to play Destiny 2, where a player could not play otherwise, is not considered a violation of the policy, but also when gaining an advantage if hardware is used directly for that purpose. For example, abusing these tools in PvP ranks at a rate far beyond what is expected for a player, it would be considered a breach of that policy. So Bungie are highlighting that a bit more specifically right there, and there has been a bit of a conversation about it once again in the community, especially over the past couple of weeks. So share your thoughts on that, and it's good that Bungie are being clear about how that's gonna work. And finally, in the TWAB at least, there is a section about Bungie's annual Kilts for Kids Ronald McDonald House Seattle charity drive, and they say help us to achieve our $77,777 goal by heading to the donation page. And a $50 donation will receive the Knees Out emblem. Plus for $100, you'll get a postcard signed by the Kilts for Kids team. For $250 though, you'll get a unique piece of artwork made by Mark Fleeg, as well as the above rewards. And $500 will get a physical print of the exclusive art. So pretty cool initiative right there. And if you want to check out more details about it, it's linked in the TWAB in the description box below. A few final mentions right here though. There has been some background maintenance today for update 705, that's the April update we're getting next week. So Bungie are doing preparations behind the scenes for the patch. And in case you missed it, as they added a couple of days ago, solo and master dungeon raid completions not being retroactive for the Guardian rank 11 requirements is not intended, and the fix for this will drop in the mid-season update. And so following that, it will be retroactive, and players won't need to complete the objective again, so that's another thing to look forward to being fixed next week. On top of that though, Bungie said that they made scoring updates to the following Guardian rank objectives, and they include the Legend score, which now requires 115,000, with the Nightfall score requiring 180,000, and the Grandmaster score requiring 210,000. So a few more updates to take note of right there. But a separate news piece worth mentioning here, and for fans of Halo, it'll be an interesting one. This was covered by the Game Post, but apparently Halo's Captain Key's voice actor, Pete Stacker, actually did some early voice lines for the Ghost that have recently been discovered in the files for the Destiny Alpha. So these are super old voice recordings. And the article says, it seems that the game developer had originally considered using Pete Stacker for the role, although it is worth noting that potentially that was just an experiment on Bungie's part, or indeed Pete Stacker offered assistance with that initial phase getting some voice lines into the game. So just an interesting bit of development history, I suppose. And ultimately, Bungie, of course, decided to go with Peter Dinklage. And later on, Nolan North took the role of the Ghost voice actor. I'll link the article down below, but I just thought it was a cool mention, especially for any old school Bungie and Halo fans. And in the article, there's a video where you can check out some of those recordings. So that is in the description box as well. Plus, the Bungie store said they're introducing the first entry into the Destiny Exotic Armory collection via Bungie Rewards, and that is for Vexcalibur. So there's a really cool model of Vexcalibur right there, inside of this cool frame. Obviously, it will be available to players who've acquired the weapon. I'm assuming it's not a full-size glaive, but very cool nonetheless, and obviously Bungie have plans to do more of these in the future. So if that's something else that you'd like to check out, I will link it down below. For today though guys, that is everything we have to speak about in the video, so if you've enjoyed this one, a rating below really does help us out on the channel. And if you're new around here, feel free to get subscribed so I can keep you posted with more Destiny content. But otherwise, as always, I appreciate you tuning in. Once again, be sure to check out houndishsocks.com for our really cool range of new socks in partnership with Freaky USA. Any purchases there, once again, very much help support me on the channel, so I appreciate you guys checking it out, but otherwise, I hope you have an awesome day.